my December Doing It series. This is the series where I interview top corporate leaders about their leadership. These are women who are changing their leadership table from the inside out. And I have the honor and privilege to work with them every single week. And I am so delighted to be able to bring them to you live to answer your questions about leadership. If, as you're listening, you have questions for Shari today, please put them into the comments, but also mostly to celebrate her and her leadership and to learn from her about some of the things that she's doing and some of the pivots that she's had to make in her career. So thank you, Shari. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you.
Well, thank you, Stacy. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Just as Stacy said, I'm Shari Begun. I head worldwide sales of the consumer durables segment at Renaissance Electronics. If you haven't heard of Renaissance, we are a $13 billion broad-based semiconductor supplier. And for those who don't know what a semiconductor is, basically any type of product that has an on-off button in it, there's likely a semiconductor in it. So basically what my team and I do is we help engineers make really cool electronics products.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, Shari is also lives in the Bay Area, which I do as well. We actually haven't really met in person, but I always think of Silicon Valley as the semiconductor farm, right? Like it's a place where the semiconductors were born and raised over and over again. So
it's still thriving.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So can you describe for us your leadership style?
Yeah, Stacy, I'm a naturally curious and positive person. And what that's kind of evolved into my leadership style is I'm able to figure out pretty quickly what's important to people, what drives them, and what they're just naturally good at. And what that has allowed me to do is build a very diverse team over time. As a sales professional, it's super easy to understand your individual goals. We get quotas, you got to meet them or beat them. You sometimes have revenue numbers, sometimes you have product numbers. But when you work at a large company, for instance, like I work at, it's sometimes very hard to see how you fit in to that huge $13 billion pie. And what I do is I connect the dots. I connect the dots for the leaders in my organizations, the individual contributors in my organizations on how they can actually move the needle at our company. And at the same time, we have a lot of people that need to support us. We have technical experts. We have people that need to build products. I also can connect the dots internally of why we need to do this for a customer and how this is going to actually grow our business and grow our market share.
I'm going to put Shari on the spot here a little bit. I hope she doesn't mind. But as you were talking, I'm so curious. How did you get into this work? Like, tell us a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, so I actually was always good at math and science growing up. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I heard about engineering. I heard it was a good field. I grew up near Kennedy Space Center and saw the shuttle launches and just was something of interest. My mom was able to introduce me to some women engineers, and that's how I got into it. I'm like, I want to be an engineer. Well, probably junior year of engineering school, I decided, I don't want to be at a desk all the time. And I knew someone who was older than me in school who got a job in technical sales. And you had to have a degree, you had to understand the technology, but it really combined people skills with it. So it was just, Stacy, a lot of by chance. I took a job as a field salesperson out of school, not knowing if I'd like it. Well, that was, I think, about 26 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since.
Oh my gosh, I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing it. I haven't heard it before. And it makes a lot of sense. And you talked a little bit in your leadership style about working with people of diverse backgrounds, different types of people, and pivoting your communication accordingly. I wonder if you could share with us, how you navigate through and inspire your team through difficult challenges. I know it's not always rosy and sunny.
Yeah. So I think probably my secret to that is I'm an extremely transparent and authentic person. And sometimes I've been told I'm a little too honest, but I think at the end of the day, people really appreciate that. Probably the best example of that recently was almost 2 years ago. I was working for a company called Dialogue Semiconductor. We were about $1 billion semiconductor company, and basically woke up on a Monday morning and found out we were going to be acquired by Renaissance. My job was to integrate our sales team, which I ran all of the Americas, into Renaissance sales team. Well, as you can imagine, that was, what was it, 2021, still in lockdown. People couldn't meet face to face, and you could just feel that tension over the virtual meetings. And nobody told me to do this, but just intuitively, I knew I need to kind of ground everybody, make everybody not necessarily feel good, because acquisitions aren't always good, but just be honest with them, let them make their own decisions. And basically, I set up every other week, 1 hour, call it office hours, invited everybody from the sales team. A couple just local people that weren't in the sales team ended up, attending these. And I just started off, hey guys, this is what I learned in the last 2 weeks. Here's some answers to your questions you had last time. And then just opened the floor, and people, would ask about rumors, and some I could clarify then, others I couldn't. But I think that 6-month process of just being super open so people could make their own decisions, I think gained a lot of credibility with my team, as well as, I'm proud to say the majority of our people stayed and are still here. So.
Yeah, that's such a big deal. I love that. Yeah, retention and also just satisfaction. I know that you have a fairly large team that you work with, and it being able to kind of hold all of this stuff up in the air is, can be challenging even for yourself as a leader.
Absolutely, because I didn't know where I would end up either.
Right.
So and communicating that, to people.
Right. It's very humbling, and, and just sort of being honest and like, hey, I'm in this with you, and we're going to go through this challenge, and we're going to get out the other side, right? This is what we can do. I love that so much. So I know that that not always you have other women or people who look like you in the room at these leadership tables that you belong to. And so I'm curious why you personally feel inspired to have that voice at the table and to really show up as the powerful female executive leader.
Yeah, so Stacey, I told you a little bit how I got into this. Well, I would say the first time I felt like I never fit in was actually when I went to college. I went to engineering school that was 75% male. And then as I moved into my engineering classes, it was 90% male. And I'd never experienced that in my life until that time. And, I was always pretty social. I'd be out at a party or out socializing, after school hours. And people would ask me, oh, do you attend the local fashion college? Which is kind of flattering because I love clothes and I love fashion. And I'd proudly respond, no, I'm an electrical engineering major. And up until my senior year, I'd get comments like, good luck, and kind of snicker. And, I didn't really understand it. And as I got in the program, the electrical engineering department was notoriously one that both men and women, fail out of. They don't get through, they don't like it. But, I felt just not a part of something at that point in my life. And then when it came to graduating at the time, I have long hair. I had long hair in college. All of us, we cut our hair really short because we wanted to be taken seriously. We wanted to look older. And I literally had this conversation with one of my friends from college about 2 weeks ago about how ridiculous, that is, that you had to dress a certain way. You had to cut your hair just to feel like you fit in and everything. So that's one of the things is I want people to know that you can look all different types of ways. You can communicate all different ways. You can love fashion. You can love art. You can love technology. You can love negotiation. You can love engineering. So, you can be this very multifaceted thing where you're not just Howard from the Big Bang Theory, that I think a lot of people stereotype an engineer.
I love that story so much. And I want everybody who is listening to this to really sit with how recent her story was of cutting her hair and trying to fit in, and to just have compassion if you're a woman who is, trying herself to fit in, to find her way and to find her voice, that we're in it. We're still in it, right? Like this is a very recent unfolding that Shari's talking about, where we are able to be ourselves, and it's so important as role models, as leaders, to show and to connect with other women and to show them what's possible, because we're all sort of figuring this out together. And so I really appreciate that perspective and that courage and willingness to be able to put yourself out there in that way and connect. So I think it matters.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And so any surprises or like added benefits as you have advanced in your career and become a more powerful executive leader? Have you been able to give back, or what other sort of ways do you like to give back to the community?
Yes, Stacy, and all the things that I've given back in, I think, kind of start with that feeling uncomfortable at a young age. I've mentored, done projects with middle school, high school girls focusing on STEM. I've spoken at colleges on careers in engineering and in sales. I've mentored both male and female new college graduates. I've 3 companies. I've been a leader on our employee resource group for women. And all of those have had that same theme of, somewhere where you can be heard, somewhere you can be coached, and somewhere where you can just really excel at it. I'm now looking for my next. What do I do next on those kind of things? I think I can do a lot more. I now have, where I was doing those had maybe 10, 15 years experience. Now I have over 25 years experience. So Stacy, I don't know what's next, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I can't wait. And, even sharing with us today on LinkedIn and your story and this, I just want everybody to know that your story matters, and your leadership matters. And even just that is changing the leadership table. We're seeing, we're hearing, we're creating new role models, and we're inspiring people just through our words and our actions. And so you're doing it, right? This is the next step. And so we'll have more and more interviews like this. I'm sure there'll be more and more discussions and ways that you can impact the community. I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Shari. Thank you so much for being here. If you're watching the replay and you have any questions or want to make some comments to Shari or myself, we'd be happy to answer them. We'll go back through and take a look. And otherwise, I hope you just have an absolutely fabulous week. I'll be back again next week with another extraordinary leader that is changing the face of the leadership table from the inside out. Thank you so much. Bye.